script up. Who's surprised that I don't have the script up? Right there it is. It doesn't take long to get to. Good evening. Oh, I need to press the button here. All right. We'll say this good evening to everybody, not just the YouTube folks. Good evening, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, the most interesting two-way radio net in the land. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard, and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
Tonight we are on Fort Mountain, Columbus, Jersey, Watkinsville, Flagship, Buckhead, McDonough, Lula, Noonan, Rome, Toccoa, Zebulon, Peachtree, Dallas, Chattanooga, Lookout Mountain, White Oak Mountain, Cates Cove, Mount Roosevelt, Ottawa, and Georgetown.
This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank all of you who've made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 946, WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
And we'll let Blue Ridge 63 introduce himself in just a moment. But until then, on the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in or sign out of the net. Also, you can tune into our YouTube channel, and you can hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Or better yet, you can play the YouTube channel back tomorrow and hear the whole interaction. Remember to comment on the YouTube video, because those comments show engagement and help our channel grow. Tonight's topic is emergency radio communications. So what do you do if the power is knocked out? What do you do if a tornado rips through your neighborhood? What do you do if the grid's down and you've got no power, no resources for days on end? What do you do in those circumstances? We're going to talk about that and a lot more, and hopefully by the end of the program, everyone will have a good plan as to how they'll handle emergency radio communications. No tips tonight. Julie is unavailable for tonight's episode, but she'll be back soon with another episode of Julie's Tips. So with that, let's go to Blue Ridge 63, let him introduce himself, and he can make the announcements.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is Blue Ridge 63, WRWM 344, with this week's news and announcements. First up, the merch store on our website is still open. You can visit nggmrs.org from the homepage and click on the drop-down for more links. Right there is the link to the merch store. Items have been marked down, so now is the time to buy. Once these are gone, they're gone. If you order before the upcoming Hamfests and select in-store pickup at checkout, we can make sure that they are brought to the Hamfest and save you a few bucks on shipping. Justin said that he just placed an order and says there are still a handful of really good items left in the store, so grab yours while you can. Have you heard? There is a $2,000 reward that has been offered for information leading to an FCC action related to the intentional interference that's been happening on the network. That'd go a long way towards upgrading your station. If you have information, please send it to Gary at nggmrs.org, or if you'd rather, send it to Justin at nggmrs.org. North Georgia GMRS has a not-so-secret secret called NGARA, North Georgia Amateur Radio Association. It's a separate radio group available to licensed amateur operators only. It's currently comprised of 5 amateur 440 and 2-meter repeaters this year, with plans to add 5 more next year. They've secured coordination for 10 repeaters total across North Georgia for the largest, most active linked amateur radio network in the country. This network is separate from NGGMRS and requires a separate membership. Speaking of amateur license, if you are interested in getting your amateur radio license to become an amateur operator, we will begin early next year offering exams to those wishing to upgrade from GMRS licenses for free testing. Let us know if you're interested with an email to justin@nggmrs.org, and we'll find the closest testing location to you. All right, moving along to the section with our upcoming gatherings and events to tell you about that are right around the corner. Pay attention and write these down if you're interested. These meetups are a great way to meet fellow members in and around your area. First up is the Kennesaw Gathering. They'll have their next Meet and Geek meetup on Tuesday, October 14th at noon at the Old Town Grill on Cobb Parkway, right around from the McCollum Airport in Kennesaw. So that's just shy of a month away, October 14th. Bring your radio if you've got programming issues to discuss and resolve then. Ed and the team will have a mobile test bench available after lunch where they can meet and test program some of the more popular radios after the lunch. Reach out to Ed, Atlanta 557 beforehand on the air or via email at wrqg806@gmail.com if you're planning to attend. So you make sure to have enough seats available and let him know of any radio issues ahead of time so you can bring the right programming cable and software. Let me break. Next up is the Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch. They have their meetup the third Saturday of every month at the JR's Log House in Peachtree Corners. It'll be this Saturday, September 20th, so day after tomorrow. And Pamela says, though, they're still going to have a special guest lady joining. So come on out, talk about new and exciting things, events going on in regards to all things GMRS. All radio enthusiasts can join for a tasty meal. Reach out to Pamela, Atlanta 849, or Atlanta 848 Ernest, or you can send an email to skygazerpamela849@gmail.com. Moving north, the next Northeast lunch meetup will be on Wednesday, September 24th. It's next week at 11 a.m. at the usual location, the Roosters Cafe in Dahlonega. All NGGMRS members and future members are welcome to join. If you need more information about the Northeast Lunch Bunch, reach out to Atlanta 403 Bobby or Gainesville 44 Joe. For the folks interested in Meshtastic, we had the first ever Meshtastic workshop. It was a great success. It was last weekend. Scott, Atlanta 194, and Ed, Atlanta 557, said they had 12 folks in attendance at the West Cobb Library and went over Meshtastic and all the basics, how it can be used for off-grid comms, and helped several NGGMRS members in attendance set up their nodes and get on the air. If you missed out, don't worry. There will be similar presentations and tutorials held in the upcoming months, specifically at the GMRS Fest in Ringgold, and that's coming up in a couple of weeks, and the Stone Mountain Ham Fest in November. Speaking of Ham Fest, don't forget the Ham Fest Chattanooga 2025 is right around the corner. That's Friday, October 3rd, and Saturday, October 4th. This year, the Chattanooga Amateur Radio Club and North Georgia GMRS have teamed up to host this at a great new venue called The Colonnade in Ringgold, Georgia. You can visit the HamFest website at hamfestchattanooga.net to get more information. This year will feature several speakers and forums from the North Georgia GMRS Network, with topics including GMRS dipole antennas, Meshtastic, radios, and maybe preparedness, and as well as GMRS for beginners. North Georgia GMRS, Hobbit Communications, and NGARA will be among the many vendors at the first GMRS Fest. If you're able to volunteer either Friday or Saturday or both, please send an email to justin@nggmrs.org. Vanguard will be set up at the Ham Fest to operate both GMRS and 2-meter amateur. So it'll be a great opportunity to operate a state-of-the-art system in the comforts of Vanguard. we are still looking for talk-in operators to work out of Vanguard for both the GMRS and amateur talk-in frequencies. Let me break. Quick reminder on those dates: Friday, October 3rd, the hours that day will be noon to 6 p.m., and Saturday, October 4th, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. General admission tickets for everyone 18 and over are $10 a head, good for both days of the show, and youth under 18 are free. So once again, full details and information at hamfestchattanooga.net. And that looks like that's it. If you have any questions, comments, or news to share, please send an email to justin@ggmrs.org. All right, Justin, that's it. Back to you.
All right. Well, very good stuff. Thanks for those announcements, Mike. And we'll definitely. I hope everyone took notes. Did you take notes of all that? What's going on this Saturday?
This Saturday we have the Peachtree Corners brunch bunch.
Ah.
Which I'm normally in attendance to that.
Okay.
So,
all right.
We encourage everyone to come out, and the food at GR's is actually pretty good.
It's one of those I've been wanting to go to, but I can't seem to find a Saturday that's unscheduled. So I don't think I'm going to make it to this one, but I'll definitely show up at one of them at some point along the way. So I'm looking forward to checking out JR's and hanging out with some GMRS radio folks. So I think that'll be fun. What else is going on? Were you honestly paying attention, or you know about that one because you go to it?
Well, we have a lot going on here. But no, I was looking at the notes to make sure that I got everything, because we had a few things pop up in there that on the fly that weren't in the actual notes.
Yeah, that's the way we roll around here.
Yeah.
I can't keep it all straight, so and it's all the volunteers throughout the network that provide me with the information. If you have an event that we didn't talk about and you think we should have, send an email. Where would they send that email?
Justin
At
nggmrs.org.
See, he was paying attention.
There you go.
All right.
And if by chance you weren't paying that close attention, you can always go back and watch the YouTube replay.
Very good.
Because it's loaded with visuals. It's loaded with all of these restaurants where you can go on a Saturday and meet your fellow GMRS members.
I think so. So with that in mind, I think this is a good time to go back to check-ins. We had a pretty good round of early check-ins, but we've still got a few folks that I would imagine are interested in participating in tonight's net. So if that is indeed the case, this will be your chance to jump in here and participate. So with that in mind, we'll continue with check-ins from any repeater other than Flagship. If you're using the Flagship machine, please hold your traffic, and we'll come to you soon. But for now, anybody other than Flagship, please call Net Control.
This is WSGP 646, Atlanta 164, and here is Julia checking in and checking out.
This is This is WSGP 646, Atlanta 165. Checking in, checking out.
And monitoring.
And monitoring.
With my son Andre.
With my son Andre.
Very good.
That was our son. Yeah.
So let's see if I can bring it back a little bit. What is? Hold on 1 second. Yeah, that's 100.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. I'm going to go to the YouTube check-ins here for a moment. We've got WRYQ727 Miko from upstate New York is checking in again on YouTube. We have WRWB802 Larry from Colorado is checking in on YouTube again. Atlanta 284 Lawrence in Griffin, a YouTube check-in. Atlanta 336 Jeff in Monroe is a YouTube check-in. We have a guest check-in from WQQD705. That's in Joliet, Illinois. And Atlanta 557 Ed in Kennesaw is checking in on YouTube. Another guest from WRWY 456 Dave in Rogersville, Missouri. We have Rome 11 Mark in Adairsville. Atlanta 306 George in Loganville. Our YouTube check-ins. And on the air, we heard Atlanta 165 Julia in Marietta is in and out. And also, we have Atlanta, I guess, 165.5 Andre, also in Marietta, a guest check-in for tonight. Thanks a lot, Julia. It's great to hear you on the air. You did a great job, and look forward to hearing you again very soon. We missed you while you were out on your walk. So glad to have you come back in and check in. Let's continue on with check-ins from any repeater anywhere, including the flagship machine. Net control, standing by.
This is WRYZ 968 Gainesville 100 Randall in Buford. You can check me in, check me out, but I will be monitoring. This is.
Well, that's even worse.
This is WRPG 415, Atlanta 11, John and Ken. Please check me in and out. I'll be monitoring as much as I can while watching the game today with Buffalo. Have a great night.
This is Noonan 120, WRZL 542. This is Carmine in Fayetteville off the Noonan repeater. Check me in.
Sounding crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's two things going on. I think that audio that comes to us from Noonan is hot, and I think that Carmine is maybe on the upper edge of. He sounds fine if you're listening to him on that repeater, but when you listen to him through the network, he sounds crunchy, and I think that's why. All right, we've got a short list of additional check-ins here. We'll go ahead and go through that, and I think that we'll get started. We have Chattanooga 84 Jim in Hickson is in with us tonight. Gainesville 100 Randall in Buford is in and out. Atlanta 11 John in Canton is in and out. Noonan 120 Carmine in Fayetteville is in tonight. And those are the check-ins we have at this time. If you didn't get checked in, there'll be another opportunity for check-ins at the end of the program. After we call on everybody, we'll take one last round of additional check-ins. Or if you checked in and out and you'd like to make a comment, that'd be a great time to just call out your TAC number and say comment, and we'll call on you for a chance to chime in on the evening's discussion. Tonight we're talking about what are we talking about?
Emergency communications.
Like 911,
but with the radio.
But with the radio, so you can't really call 911 on a radio, can you?
I've seen those iNet radios, but no, not necessarily with GMRS.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could maybe, in some circumstances, get somebody to call 911 on your behalf, but that becomes challenging. It can be done, and it has been done, but it requires a certain amount of resources. Like, for instance, if you're in Fayette County, and I'm in Cherokee County, and you're talking on the radio, and you ask me to call 911 for you. If I just pick up the phone and call 911, it's going to go to the Cherokee County 911 Center, and they may or may not be able to dispatch services to you. So we have developed a directory that the North Georgia GMRS ESN operators are all in possession of this directory that will help us to find the backdoor number to the 911 center in Fayette County or in any county in Georgia, many counties in Tennessee and Alabama and surrounding areas. So if you can reach an ESN operator, then you've got a really, really good chance of being able to get the kind of help that you need. So I think this would be a good place to give the accolades to Atlanta 250, Dana, for putting that directory together, and also for his leadership with the ESN network. You know, when it comes to emergency radio communications, that's the best service that we can offer. If we know of an event that's going to impact the majority of our network area, we'll activate the ESN, and our operators will be monitoring the network for any emergency traffic. And if an emergency does occur, they'll be in position to communicate and help out the best way that they can. Let me break. But beyond that, you know, maybe you don't have a need to call 911, but maybe power's out and your generator quit and you need somebody to bring you some gas. That's another emergency call that you might make on the network. There's many situations where you may have a need for some help, but not necessarily fire trucks, ambulances, or police officer help. So these are the kind of calls that I think are going to be more common across the North Georgia GMRS network. And the other thing we have to consider too is, you know, if we're in a grid down situation, what's the best way to behave and ensure that we can maintain a certain level of communications and also maintain optimum battery levels and, you know, because if you're monitoring with your radio all day long and then somebody has an injury and needs help, but now your battery is low and your 5-watt radio is now only doing 2 watts because it only has half a battery, and you can't get out anywhere. So what are some ways that we can manage our radios and ensure that when we do need to make that call, we still have plenty of battery left to be able to make that call? So some of the things that we'll talk about tonight. With that, we'll head to the top, and let me just check in with Blue Ridge 63. Mike, do you have any comments for tonight's net? Any direction you think that we should go with regard to emergency radio comms?
All right, I think I got in there. No, nothing specific. I'm interested to hear what folks want to share tonight, and I think any practice of using radios is a good thing. Like we practice, we train in other areas for preparedness. So hearing about how folks use their radios out in the field, test their different distances and ranges, practice with a team and others at scheduled times. Yeah, it'll just be interesting to hear.
Well, I think that's a really good point to make. Practice is an important consideration here, right? So if you're in the middle of a thunderstorm and you need to get some help because there's a tree down across your driveway, or maybe it's across your house, and you want to get some help out there to mitigate the damages, is that the best time to be the first time you've turned your radio on and keyed up on it? I mean, there's a lot of us that will listen, and in fact, I think there's a huge number of our audience that just tunes in each week to listen, and they don't really participate on the air during the week or during the net, but they're here monitoring, and that's fine. But I just want to say that if you get into a situation where you are counting on that radio to be able to make a contact, and you've never transmitted on it before, that's a terrible time to try to learn your way around the radio. When you're not in a good radio habit, and this happened to me just last week, right? Because I don't use HTs very often. I'm almost always in a vehicle when I'm on a radio, or I'm right here in Vanguard. So HTs are not something that are habitual for me to use. And so while we were working at Blue Ridge last Friday evening, standing up the first the first 30 feet of tower, I'm trying to use my HT and pressing the wrong side of it for the PTT function. Let me break. This is the railroad. Can you take over?
Yeah.
This is Justin.
And so Justin had to take a quick call, but we're talking about emergency situations here, and basically, we want to have a plan as well. Justin was talking about, learning your HT and learning how to, work your equipment. But in an emergency situation, you're gonna be, possibly nervous. There could be a thunderstorm coming through, a hurricane, as we seen with Helene last year. And you want to know how your equipment works. You want to know what your radio reach is. You want to know who your Simplex neighbors are. Who can you reach in an emergency. Other than, on the network, just with repeaters, who are your Simplex neighbors? And, those could be the people who help you out in a great time of need. So we're talking about emergency communications tonight. And Justin was also talking about, our users here who may not talk on the radio much. Don't be afraid to push that PTT button to talk, to get a radio check, to see how your radio is working, because in emergency situations, you want your radio to be working at optimal conditions, and who knows, there could be challenging atmospheric conditions going on, and you may have to relocate to a different position to get a better signal. So tonight we're talking about emergency situations, and we're going to go to our lineup here in just a moment. Let me break. Is it over here somewhere? Here it is. All right, so going straight to the lineup here. Up first, we have Atlanta 849, Pamela in Duluth. Pamela, what do you have to say about emergency communications?
Well, gentlemen, that's a good subject. I don't know if I did in or out, and not sure what I was going to talk about, but we did at one time have an emergency generator, and someone was nice enough to take it out of our garage. What they didn't know is it wasn't working. So Ernest is working on something else to replace that, but we do have a HT to use if in emergency. Don't really have much else to say. I'll listen, and maybe I'll have something for you at the end. How's that? And doing good.
All right, Pamela, thanks for that. And yeah, we had you showed as in on the roster today, so thanks for that. And look forward to seeing you at the Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch on Saturday. Moving right along, we have Atlanta 250, Dana, high atop Mount Olympus. How's it going tonight, Dana?
Well, that came fast. I thought I'd have a little time. Well, first of all, good evening, Justin, and yourself there, Rogers, and of course, Gary, all the way over there in the corner, keeping everybody on the air. You all do a great job, and it's much appreciated from all of us. Let me break. Rogers, you hit it on the head earlier when you were saying practice, the emergency comms, and that's exactly why we do what we do every Friday night, whether it be on 2-meter, whether it be on the GMRS version. We will be starting one up in the not too far distant future on the 70-centimeter new North Georgia Amateur Radio Association. So You know, like I said, you hit it right on the head. Let me break. And I say it all the time at the end of our Simplex testing evenings, is practice the plan. We have all formulated a plan in our minds that fits you and yours. And all I can say is don't just leave it there. Go over it in your head as much as you can. Go over it physically. I guarantee you're going to need to do that. Know where in your house you're going to store things that you might have to get to it at a second's notice. So practice that plan, and everybody listening is more than welcome to come and sign on the Friday night at 9 Simplex Challenge, to where we will practice those emergency comms and hopefully establish that good old what I want to say, Simplex footprint map that shows everybody that you can reach out to. That's about it. Don't want to hog it up. Back to you, Net Control.
You back, Justin?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, excellent there, excellent, Dana. And before we let you go, I know we've mentioned it before. Can you go a little bit into detail about the Simplex map, and how people can generate their Simplex map, because this would help everyone in an emergency. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, sure. I hope I can make some sense out of it. What we ask everybody to do, and first you have to start off with a small logbook, and that is who you can talk to, who you can reach out to and get a response back from on the Simplex frequencies. Once you have 5 or 6 folks on there, now you need to go to Google Earth, and that's what we pretty much all of us use, Google Earth, because it is so user-friendly, and make a map of your area. Make mine looks like a polygon, actually, of where I can reach out to and who I can talk to. Let me break. And, so what you want to do is go to Google Earth. You make a diagram of your area that you can reach out to, and then all those people in the logbook, find out, hopefully in the logbook you see where they're transmitting from. Find them on that Google Earth map, because once you get all this together and the power goes out and you have this printed copy of this map, you're going to know who you can reach out to, so you don't have to, pile it away or memorize it. Let me break. But once you have that in hand, I have one in my, what I call my Go box, that has all of my HTs and backup batteries and solar charging and, extra shoulder mics. The map is in that case as well. So if I have to go or move, let's say it's, a tornado and it took your house or took my house, you're going to have to go somewhere. And then that way you know who you can talk to on the fly. How did that sound to you, Rogers?
Yeah, Dana, I appreciate it. You explained that perfectly. And
I have a question. So if we're creating maps of the contacts that we can make, are we talking on the air about, I'm at the intersection of Eagle Drive and Brawley Woods? Are you given GPS coordinates? Do people know how to find their GPS coordinates? Usually you can get that right off your phone. How are we locating these points on our maps?
Well, usually during Simplex, when we sign in, we give our general location. So, I would say Dunwoody. If someone asks, when we come back on the repeater, hey, where exactly are you, or what's a nearby, point of interest, I can say, oh, I'm near Perimeter Mall, or whatever, and then that will get them within, a mile or two of the location. So you don't have to give out your address. But it's close. It'll get close.
And that's really good enough, and that's the right information for establishing a map and what your coverage areas are. Because if you've got, a couple of contacts in Dunwoody, then you know that you can cover that area maybe better than you might be able to cover, who knows, something in the opposite direction or something up the hill. So having these points of reference, like you say, don't have to be super accurate, but figure out what you want to call your point of reference, and it can be the Walmart at the corner, or it could be the gas station, the Valero, or the whatever station that you want to identify as being close to you. So Quick Trips and Valeros and CVS and the taco place and all of these things are reference points that you might use to define your location, other than your address. And I think that's good. All right, Dana, did you have any follow up?
I had a little bit of a time out there. Were you handing it back to me?
Yes.
Yeah, just to see if there was any follow up on identifying locations for the purpose of building a map.
Once you start obtaining this information, what I've gone around and done too is, of course, everybody has heard me do my repeater tests to see what repeaters I can hit, and that is what I use as my boundary, as far as where can I reach out to somebody and expect to have any help. Now, all in all, when push comes to shove, let me break, you're going to want to have somebody, if they're going to be your radio buddy, you don't want them, 2 hours out. Because if it is a storm-related issue and there's trees down and stuff like that, and you need help, physical help for some reason. Let's say a tree fell on you and you got an HT in your hand. You're going to want somebody that's within 15, 20 minutes down the road. Let me break. But once you start making this footprint map, I must have on mine, in my transmitting area, probably 150 people I can reach out to. So, this map is a growing thing. It doesn't stop just because you hit a few people. As you start making, relationships and finding these radio buddies, that map is going to be constantly updated. And you're right, you don't want to give, until you become, friends with these folks, let me break, until you know them, let's say you've had coffee with them 4 or 5 times, and, they're great people and everything else, to where you can start releasing, closer information. You want to start off with generics. And then that way, because, the last thing you want to do is give away your location during an emergent time of need, because all sorts of things can follow that. So I'll go ahead and quit talking, hand it back to you guys.
Well, that's good stuff, Rogers. And, if we knew where Mount Olympus was, we might, in a crisis, go there to steal all of his water, right?
He's got a good amount, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is good to have a little bit of personal security with your information, and like Dana says, when you get to know somebody, you might trust them a little bit more with more specific data. But yeah, that could be an important consideration. So build the map, but also consider that we're not talking about precise targets and precise addresses. We're talking about general locations.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, we probably have way more people who monitor the network than actually transmit. So, other than our members, we could have anyone with an HT from a big box store turn in and on one of the Simplex channels and listen in.
Yeah.
They may not be able to transmit, but, who knows how many people actually listen to us on a weekly basis and who actually monitors different repeaters and everything.
Well, we've learned there's quite a large listening audience. I don't know how to measure it, but we've learned over the years that there's quite a few that listen in. And I think that's great. But I would caution those that listen and never talk. You need to come on the air and engage in the practice of using the radio. As I was trying to say before I got called away to the railroad, without that practice, without having that automated muscle memory of knowing how to do things and use things, you can make mistakes like I did last week at the tower project, where I'm hitting the completely wrong side of the radio trying to PTT, when it's just a matter of I'm holding the radio wrong. And, a dumb mistake, but a guy like me should never make that mistake. Had I been more practiced at using HTs, which I rarely do, I should more, I wouldn't have made that mistake. So that's something that if you're in a crisis moment and you don't have that muscle memory, that can really come back and impact your radio skills and performance. So I would encourage everyone to get out there and just get on the air. Just use the radio. Even if it's Simplex across the backyard with your family. Whatever it is, whatever it takes, get out there, find excuses to use the radio and make it regular. And engage your family so that not only you become practiced at using the radio, but also your family members. That way when something happens and they need to get on the air, and I think this is a great moment to say congratulations to Julia. I think this is the first time she's been on the net. Let me break. And, this is the icebreaker. Sometimes, that mic fright is so big, it keeps us from ever coming on the air. But here's one. Julia was able to make that contact tonight on the net and get recognition for it. And hopefully that will encourage her to come on and be a little bit more regular. So, Steve, I need you to get Janine on here for us. And CV, one of these days, I've heard Lynn on the air before, but one of these days you're going to have Lynn check in and have her relay you in. I think we would all enjoy hearing a little bit more of Lynn, right?
It's always good to switch it up,
That's
right. But like you said, let everyone get a taste of the radio and get practice and efficient with it. And like you said, I had a best friend of mine. I was talking to him about GMRS and radios, and when we had the AT&T outage last year, he called me from Facebook Messenger, and he was panicking. And he was like, man, I can't call my wife right now. Yeah. She's at work. I can't make a phone call. And at that moment, he was like, yeah, I bet this is the time where you say, oh, I should have had the radios. But, yeah, he should have had them. Had he had them and had some practice with it, who knows? They might have been able to stay in touch.
And I think that's a great example. And, the cell phone outage, we've seen them before. We'll see them again. Starlink had a global outage. Now, it was for part of a day, but, that's part of a day that your Starlink absolutely didn't work. Any of these big network systems is subject to an oops and a failure. So having Simplex comms bypasses all of that. You're not dependent on a linked network repeater. Simplex is your radio that's in your hand to another person's radio that's in their hand, and nothing needs to exist in between except for space and air. So Simplex is going to be the most reliable form of communication that there ever could be. So good stuff. Where are we at? Who's next?
Gustin 250. I have one more comment as well, if I can get it in there.
The Atlanta 250. Go ahead with your one more comment.
I just wanted to tap in on something you had said prior to the whole Simplex thing, and that was about the ESN, the Emergency Standby Net. I want everybody to know this was conceptualized by Justin. I might have done the little bit of legwork that was necessary, but this was Justin's idea. I think it's a great idea, but what I need to sell it to everybody this is something we do for our membership, that we look out for you. Now, if somebody is a non-member and they're calling out for help, naturally we're going to answer the call and see it through. But this is something primarily that we really want to focus on our members. So, it's just a little takeaway that's what the plan was behind the whole concept. The whole concept was to, make this member-oriented. So, Justin, I just wanted to say that, and now I'm finished.
All right, Dana. Well, thank you for that comment. But these are seeds that were planted by others, so that it's really a pretty widespread effort and concept at putting this together. In a network like this. All right, so in a typical amateur radio community, you have 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 4 repeaters that cover the majority of 1 or 2 counties. In this network, our coverage is so vast. It's a very different animal. If you want to make an emergency call on an amateur radio repeater, you're going to be talking to someone who is maybe 10 minutes away. If you make a call out on this network, you could be talking to someone that's 4 hours away. So responses are going to be very, very different. And the challenges that we face in being able to offer any kind of legitimate assistance are significantly greater when these distances are considered. And that was something that we really wanted to be able to overcome. All right. So the ESN is different than any other emergency service network that I'm aware of. And it has to be, because North Georgia GMRS is different than any other radio repeater group in the country. There's only us. There's nothing out there to compare us or weigh us against. This is it. So because that's the case, we have to do things differently. We have to be creative. We have to consider the implications of everything that we do. And that was how the ESN concept was built. And Dana took that, and he built the net control group, and he built a lot of the documentation and the procedure, and so it's good stuff. But it wasn't just my idea; it was a lot of ideas that came together and created the ESN. I even had trouble coming up with the name, but the name is very basic. The ESN net. It's the emergency standby net. And, when talking about this, I wanted to emphasize it's a standby net. We don't have to be out there controlling the airwaves minute by minute. We can just be in a position to monitor. And that's the key here, is the emergency standby net is meant to monitor during certain events so that if somebody does need help, we can have somebody with a little bit of training and resources to be able to contact the appropriate authorities in an effective and timely manner, and I think we've demonstrated that works. It's a concept we'll be bringing to other large linked repeater groups in the near future. So, Dana, we got more work for you to do. Thank you.
I accept the challenge.
That's because he knows I won't accept his resignation. Well, very good stuff. All right, Dana, with that, we're going to continue on. I believe Colt must be unavailable for whatever reason. So let's see if we can go to McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge. Tim, do you have any comments or questions for tonight's net?
Well, not really. We don't have the Simplex network going down here on the McDonough south side of town, at least not on the GMRS side, although we're working on something like that on the ham side with the Henry County ham down here. So we've got a similar thing, but not quite as extensive. But I've got a few people I can get in touch with. As far as backup power, my backup power mostly consists of my mobile units and my handhelds with a lot of backup batteries there. So, but anyway, that's about all I can add tonight. Just listen to everybody else here and see what I can learn. Back to net control.
Well, good stuff, Tim. And I tell you, that's exactly the right approach, right? So if you don't have the Simplex functionality in your neighborhood and you have an amateur license, go there and see what's going on in terms of Simplex communications in whatever mode that you're capable of. All right, so whatever you're licensed for and whatever you can do. And if it's a matter of FRS walkie-talkies out of your backyard to your neighbor's backyard, that's something. Hopefully you'll have something that's going to have a little better range than that, and that's where GMRS comes in. But again, in GMRS Simplex, we're talking about typically HTs, and we're talking about typically 5 watts of power. Some HTs will do more power than that, but for how long with running off a battery?
Maybe a day.
Maybe a few hours, because every time you hit that PTT, you're drawing more power off of the battery than the 5-watt radio will. So you may have a much shorter ability to charge. But having the portable radios is mobile communications, and having a radio in a vehicle that you can start the car and let it run for a little bit to keep the battery charged. That's also that can extend your operating time for potentially for many days, depending on availability of fuel. So these are all alternative power sources that we should keep in mind. Nothing beats solar. When the grid is down and you can't just plug it into the wall and let it charge, nothing really beats that, because you can charge on days that you don't have to run the vehicle, you don't have to run the generator, you don't have to consume the fuel. You can just let your stuff charge. And if you keep several radios and several batteries charged, then if you have several cloudy days that come about and you can't get good solar energy, you can bridge that gap by just switching radios or switching batteries. So these are all good things to consider. And Tim, even though you don't have a lot going on down there, you've got enough. And just having 2 contacts means there are 2 people that can help you in a pinch. So if you have a reason to call out for an emergency, if you have a grid down situation and you've run all the way out of Fruit Loops and Cheerios, maybe somebody can bring a box or 2 by. So I think that's really what we're trying to establish here is, how can I be sure that the resources I need can be accessed in one way or another? And I think that's key. So good stuff, Tim. Thanks for hanging out tonight, and thanks for listening in. Next on the list, we've got Atlanta 29. Why is that so hard to say? It's right there in front of me. Atlanta 295. Rhino in Atlanta. Rhino, do you have any comments for tonight's net? And let me ask you, have you considered the 333 plan, and do you know what that is?
Net control, this is Atlanta 295, and no, I don't know what the 333 plan is. I feel like I could know it, or I could probably come up with something, but I don't know what it is, and I'd be interested to hear it. I say good evening, and thank you guys for doing what you do. I will say that this network has been very hospitable to me, and as I've embarked on my journey of learning this radio art and in increasing my proficiency, I do have some notes. A couple things. My HT has 2 buttons also, and you're right. I had to figure out which one was doing what, and I thought I was doing one thing, and I was not, and doing another, and so practicing with it is important. Let me break. This topic is kind of how the doggone hook got set in me. Well, I started with I needed some radios for up at the lake for the kids when they're wandering around by the dam and stuff, and I learned about GMRS and then emergency communications. There was no going back. I liked it. We do. I keep FRS radios charged up. The kids grab them all the time for when they're bebopping around the yard or running around the neighborhood. I have taught them about etiquette and how to call out for me. And even though it's kind of a more of a protected channels, I kind of want to start, getting them experienced to be able to make a broadcast out. They do listen to me talk and on the radio and stuff, so I'm going to break real quick. A couple things. I don't know if I've heard Rogers talk about it tonight, but I know that's something that stuck in my mind about a Simplex network is that he would go driving around and know the physical places where he got the best signal out and got the best reception. And it can be, I know I've experienced, just a couple parking spaces over, but he knows what parking space is going to get him out and be able to receive stuff. So if I'm in a situation like where maybe my house is on fire or a tree fell in it, or at the bare minimum my antennas got blown over and they're down, and I need to get out to a place where I can make get a signal out, I need to know where those places are. Let me break again. One of the things that I've done, and I did, believe it or not, just at the beginning of this month when we started having emergency preparedness, I had no idea there was such a thing. And I printed out and laminated my repeater frequencies and PL tones and laminated them. I went on Repeater Book and printed out a list of repeaters, within 25 miles that aren't on this network. That maybe if this network is down, I could reach out to them. I have asked permission and spoken on some of those, and I do have a little network going written down. And I do have my Google Earth going. Hey guys, Friday night, I try every time. For some reason, I am not getting to that monument repeater, or I can't receive back from it. Something's going on, so I keep working on that. Hopefully you'll see me there on Friday night for the Simplex Challenge. But that's that. Oh, in reaching out to different repeaters, just knowing what my range is. It's one of my favorite things to do. I just get obsessed with it, and I want to reach out there and see how far I can go. I've got 3 antennas on my roof in Yagi on a 25-foot mast, and that wasn't true 2 months ago. So I've had a lot of fun with it, and I think it's important. And I'll be clear after this, but what is the 3, 3, and 3? Over.
Well, I tell you, I think Rogers would definitely tell you that when he first came to GMRS Radio, he struggled a lot with it, just getting into the repeater, and with the Simplex Challenge and all of that. And over time, he's learned how to improve his station and how to improve his locations and things of that nature. And like you say, it's sometimes the difference between the front yard and the backyard here. The front yard is HT friendly. The backyard is not. It's tough to make a call from the backyard with an HT, but if you go out in the driveway, it's just fine. It's almost full quiet. So it's remarkable what a small difference can make in your radio's performance. So all valid stuff. Did you?
Yeah, and even if, in Rhino, one of the key factors for my station getting better was the coax. When I first started last year, I just got whatever I saw on Amazon, the first thing that popped up, and I'm like, oh, that'll work. And it worked, but not really.
Yeah.
And
there's so many products on Amazon that look like they're well suited to GMRS, but oftentimes they're really not. And I can't tell you how many antennas I bought thinking this one's
This
going to
is the
do
one.
it.
Once I get this, I'm everywhere.
Yeah, and so a lot of the times the descriptions, the product descriptions at Amazon, when it comes to radio stuff, it's like they just copy paste whatever they saw, whether it fits that product or not. And then when you get the product in your hand, and you see that it's actually a dual band antenna, or it's an antenna that shows frequency coverage that's not even GMRS. I've had both of those scenarios happen, and so Amazon is a horrible place to try to buy radio stuff. Anybody but Amazon, all right? So Hobbit Communications obviously is my first choice. We've got I've just drawn a blank. Jim Gifford's place up in Chattanooga. Chat Radio. Is another good place to buy radio equipment. HRO I think is improving. They've had some shortcomings with service and staffing at those places, but I think they're coming around and are a better place to go than they once were. They've been known to steer you wrong, right? So they've been known to sell people radios that are not legal for GMRS. So you want to be careful. You have to be at least as knowledgeable. That's why I don't like to recommend some places, because they will do that, and they shouldn't do that. They should know better. But back to the 333. I think the guys are going to post a graphic up here for that. Basically, what that is a plan. All right. So if the stuff has hit the fan, we can never ask Julie to say that. If the grid is down, all right, so the power lines are down, you don't have any electricity, and neither do your neighbors. You don't have phone or internet. You don't have any of the conventional services. Maybe even your water isn't working. All right, we're in dire straits here, and so you have to truck in water from the lake. You have to cook your food on propane or on wood fires. You're back to the Stone Age in terms of being able to survive, and we've got to do the most we can to conserve the resources we've got. That's what the 333 plan is. And basically it says every 3 hours you turn your radio on and you monitor channel 3 for 3 minutes. If you need to make a call out, that's the time you do it. You do it at the 3 hour. You do it at midnight, you do it at 3 a.m., you do it at 6 a.m., you do it at 9 a.m., you do it at noon. You find one of those times in that 3 hour period to make your call out, because that's when we know others that are following the 333 plan are going to be listening. And that way we're not running batteries down all day long. All right, we're turning our radio on for 3 minutes. We're monitoring for any trouble calls. We're making a call if we need to, and then we turn our radio back off and we wait for the next period. Now, obviously, nobody's getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, so we would most likely start this maybe at 6 or at 9 in the morning and run that until we're no longer on the air at night. But maybe there's a handful that will. I bet Pamela would be monitoring at 3 in the morning. So
She's usually up pretty late.
Yeah. So there's a good chance somebody will be there. But I mean, once you establish the 333 plan and you've conveyed that with some of your Simplex neighbors, and they know what your creature habits are, that you're not going to be there at midnight. You're not going to be there at 3 a.m. You might not be there at 6. We can work with those. Oh, let's break. How long's that light been flashing? I've just been rambling on. So we got a break when the light comes on, and sometimes I don't even notice. But that's the gist of the 333 plan is know what the plan is, and then convey that with your Simplex neighbors, so that if we do get into a tough spot, everyone knows what to expect and how to perform. And
I will say this, speaking of Simplex, and Dana can correct me if I'm wrong, but for if we're in a repeater down situation, the main channel that we usually use on Simplex is GMRS channel 18. And that's usually our main kind of go-to Simplex frequency that we've had a lot of success with. So if ever in a grid down situation, even a repeater down situation, most of us will be definitely monitoring the GMRS channel 18.
And that's something that we would convey, amongst ourselves, so that we don't have Rhino out there trying to listen on channel 3 when everybody else is on 18. So just minor variations, but the concept is solid. All right, the concept is what we're talking about here. The actual practices, of course, need to be varied, because one thing that the Simplex folks will tell you is that channel 18 doesn't propagate as reliably as channel 17 or 19. Just that small change in frequency can be enough sometimes to have a huge difference in how your radio performs. And if you've ever used an antenna analyzer, it becomes real evident. When you're looking at frequencies on the antenna analyzer and you punch in the different frequencies of different GMRS channels to see how that antenna is going to perform, you can have a huge difference in SWR values from one channel to another just by small changes in frequency. So especially when you get into the better antenna analyzers, they'll show you things that are pretty remarkable in how radio works. So it's it's FM. It's just freaking magic. And
and that's how even during the Simplex nights on Friday nights, you can make a contact with one person on one frequency or channel, and you flip to the next channel and you don't hear that same person again.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like no one moves, but it's just like you said, there's different things going on there with the modulation.
So a lot of it comes down to experience, and experience comes from
practicing the plan.
That's right, from practice. So and that's the key here. We every time we hit that PTT, we have a chance of learning something about how our radio performs in that situation, in that location. Even if you're driving and you're on a mobile, let me brake. See, I noticed the light come on this time.
You caught it.
It happens once in a while. If you're driving around in your mobile, you get to where you learn that, okay, when I go down this hill, I'm going to lose the repeater for a little bit. Or if I go over this ridge, once I'm behind the ridge, I'm done. There's some spots in Midtown that the radio works surprisingly well back to Flagship, and then there's some spots just outside of Midtown. Forget it. You're gonna be scratchy and hard to read if you get in at all. So after making that drive a handful of times, you learn where those tough spots are at, and just try to avoid using radio at that time. Oftentimes you can hear more than you can say when it comes to radio, so that's another thing to consider. Monitoring is something that can be very, very important. So that's the 333 plan in a nutshell. Does that make sense to you, Rhino?
I'm not sure if you came back to me. I will chime in and say that's awesome. I like that plan. Now I know what the 3, 3, and 3 is. I hope I'm not stepping on somebody here. But I really appreciate everything, guys, and I'll be clear.
Yeah, excellent stuff. And that's something that came to us from the Rabbit Hole Gang, right? The 333 plan was something that David introduced to North Georgia GMRS. I think it's a solid plan. I think it's worth exploring with your Simplex neighbors and getting that plan very local to you, so that you know what to expect out of your Simplex neighbors, and they know what to expect out of you. So I think that's probably one of the most important things we can talk about tonight, because what this does is this preserves your battery. All right, so if you've got your radio on all day and trouble comes at night, you've got a soft battery. You might still be able to get out, but can you get out at the same strength you could when you first turned your radio on? So 3 minutes of operating, you can make that same battery last in that radio for days between charges, and maybe that's important. Maybe you got plenty of batteries and it doesn't matter, but maybe you need to make every effort at conservation, and this is one way that we can do that. So good stuff, and hats off to the Rabbit Hole Gang for their contribution to emergency radio comms.
And on top of the 333 plan, with our Simplex neighbors, it's good to have with our own, family as well. They may not know, proper radio protocol or everything, but there may be a situation where you may be out and about, and the grid goes down. It's not going to go down perfectly when we're at home with everything stocked up.
Right.
We could be midtown or downtown or somewhere, and we may need to make a call back home some kind of way, or have them listening. So that goes a lot of ways as well.
And it's something we can practice too individually, is that, wait until a given time, and and then make that contact, and try to make a brief contact, so that the 14 other people that are also trying to make that contact are able to. But I think that the 333 plan, with some modifications for our personal situation, is solid stuff, and good deal. All right, who's next? Carmine. All right, next on the list, it looks like we have Noonan 120 Carmine in Fayetteville. Carmine, do you have any questions or comments for tonight's net?
No, I sure don't. This is Noonan 120. I've been listening tonight. I think if there's any question at all that I would raise, has been answered tonight. And enjoying the web.
All right, Carmine. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Glad to have you along. And with that, that's the end of the roster. So I do have a handful of YouTube check-ins I'm going to acknowledge. And then after I read off these YouTube check-ins, I'm going to call out for any questions or comments. And that'll be your chance for a late check-in, or if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, you can jump in at that time. So we have Tacoa 22 Adam in Alto, Georgia, is a YouTube check-in. We have WRQE398 R Ferguson from Hayesville, Kansas, checking in on YouTube. We have Tacoa 10 David in Lakemont is with us on YouTube. Atlanta 379 Scott in Sandy Creek, New York. We're glad to have you along tonight. We have guest check-in from WQUJ575 in Lynchburg City is a guest check-in tonight. And Chattanooga 69 Ronnie in Las Vegas is the Velvet Elvis, and he is in by way of YouTube tonight. Those are the check-ins we have. We'll continue with one last round of late check-ins. And any questions or comments? Let me grab one more here. We've got Columbus 25 Peter in West Point is a YouTube check-in. Oh, also we have Atlanta 192 Faith in Holly Springs under rolling in. Gainesville 76 John in Gainesville, all are YouTube check-ins. And one more coming. We have WSKC 561, a guest check-in from Maryville, Tennessee. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a break for any late check-ins, any questions or comments. Net Control standing by.
This is Chattanooga 248, WSFT 846. Check me in and back out. Thank you.
This is WSTV 540, McDonough 21, checking in and out. Came in late, just replaced a lightning arrestor on my system here. Hopefully get back with you next week.
This is WSGS 735, Unit 40, Restus in Palmetto, Georgia. Thanks for the program, and we'll be in and out listening.
This is WRKA 361 Atlanta 710. Late check-in, checking in, and checking out. Thank you for listening in.
There was, I thought it was 710.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. It was 710. I know that voice. I know that was Scott. Because he's always low too. Like,
Mhm.
he's always, like,
710.
yeah, I think that last one was 710.
What's the name?
I think it's Scott. Scott.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this last round of check-ins. We didn't have any comments, but we did get a nice little group of late check-ins here. So we've got Atlanta 355 Damon is a YouTube check-in from Canton. We have on the radio, we heard Chattanooga 248 Matt in Old Fort is checking in. Also, we heard McDonough 21 Alfred in Stockbridge checking in, working on his lightning protection. Glad to know you've got your radio back up and safely operating. Atlanta 60 Gary in Noonan is a YouTube check-in, as well as WSJZ823 Robert in Hot Springs, Arkansas is a YouTube check-in. We heard Noonan 40 Orestes in Palmetto in and out. And we heard, well, here's the thing. We think we heard Atlanta 110 Matthew in Kennesaw, but it might have been Atlanta 710 Scott. We're not exactly sure on that last one. So was that you, Scott?
Thank you to Control. Yeah, this is Atlanta 710. Scott in Roswell. Sorry, was running past radio and at least wanted to jump in there. Thanks for sharing all the knowledge, folks.
All right, Scott, 710. Glad we got that corrected. Don't want to leave anybody out. So that is the end of the roster. And with that in mind, I think we'll now go to that portion of the script that says this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of, and this is where we go to Blue Ridge 63, where he's going to tell us the number and check out.
Blue Ridge 63, WRWM344. We had a total of 69 chickens tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. Total of 69 chickens. Net control will now be returning and repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, comments on the YouTube video shows engagement with the video and helps the channel grow. Tune in next week on any North Georgia GMRS linked repeater or on a YouTube live stream when we talk about terrorist attacks. You remember 9/11, right? Man, what do we do? If you've got a big 110-story building crumbling in front of you, what do you do?
And you know, I remember I was in college during that time at Georgia Southern University, and no one could get out on their cell phones.
Right.
And that was here in Georgia. And, 9/11, that happened in New York City.
Right.
So,
well,
it's
you know,
crazy.
my wife's cousin Hoot was in New York at the time of the terror attacks. And he talks about people that came out of buildings and just started walking. They didn't know where they were going or why they were walking. They just knew they had to get off the island. And they didn't really even know why. They just knew they had to get off the island. And so they're walking toward one of the bridges. I would have been frightened about walking across the bridge with so many people on a bridge. I would have been concerned about that. But apparently that wasn't an issue. But next week we're going to talk about terror attacks, what to do, where to go, how to behave, and what some of your thoughts are if something like that ever comes to American soil again. Hopefully it'll never happen. We never would have believed 9/11 would happen, but it certainly did, and who knows what the next event might be. So again, this is all about the month of September is Preparedness Month, and that's what these topics are driven from. Don't forget to love on the rabbit hole, folks, because we're kind of stepping in their turf a little bit. But I this is something that I think is important to bring to this net as well. And I know that much of the content gets covered over there, probably to a much greater degree of accuracy and detail. But I think it's important that we talk about it here as well. So, all right, with that in mind, thanks for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
And this is WRUB 711, Atlanta 519. My name is Gary.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network.
And we are clear.
Good night, everyone.